Today on Daily Cafe, the pressure to keep up with society's image, while a lot of women are living with a very dangerous secret.
Plus, you'll want to take notes. One man's surefire way to get your house off the market.
And we're monkeying around with Peter Tork. Daily Cafe starts right now.
Live from the nation's capital, this is Daily Cafe. Here again, Mary Alice Williams and Felicia Taylor.
Thanks for watching Daily Cafe. I'm Mary Alice Williams.
And I'm Felicia Taylor. Today, anorexia and older women. We'll talk about the health risks and ways to treat this potentially deadly disorder.
Relief or ripoff. Today, our week-long series on alternative medicine focuses on fire cupping. Do you know about this? It's been around for more than 2,500 years in Chinese medicine, but is it right for you? We'll talk to an acupuncturist who performs fire cupping and see a demonstration.
Then, how to sell your home in 10 days, even in this current downturn in the real estate market. You're definitely going to want to stick around for that.
But first, we're going to get an update on the day's top stories. Ann Thompson of NBC News has the latest. Hey, Ann.
Hello, ladies. Up first, presidential politics today. Senator Hillary Clinton seems to be widening her lead. An NBC News Wall Street Journal poll shows Democrats favor Clinton over Barack Obama 43% to 22% respectively. The survey also shows that if the elections were held today, both senators would beat the Republican favorite, former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Meanwhile, after having his views on foreign policy attacked by Senator Clinton as naive, Barack Obama took a hard line today during a speech in Washington. Obama says Pakistan's president must do more to shut down terrorist operations in his country, or the U.S. will act on its own to take care of the problem.
If we have actionable intelligence about high-value terrorist targets and President Musharraf will not act, we will.
It's another volatile day on Wall Street. Stocks have been swinging between negative and positive territory. Yesterday, the Dow lost nearly 150 points in late-day trading. Turning to Detroit now and the fate of the American auto industry. Not long ago, it looked like the wheels had come off. But now two of the big three have made a turnaround, and they're putting the pedal to the metal. CNBC's Phil LeBeau has more.
Motown is getting its mojo back. While Chrysler is about to once again become American-owned, Ford and GM have turned in surprisingly profitable earnings.
On balance, I think it was a good quarter, and I think we still got some more work to do.
The big three are revving up the bottom line by cutting costs on the assembly line. In the last year and a half, they've shed 74,000 jobs, saving more than $4 billion.
They're just not spending as much, and they're really cutting back on their costs. That is really getting their balance sheet back in order.
Detroit's automakers are also selling cars and trucks with fewer discounts. And instead of pushing deals, they are winning over buyers by pushing claims American-made models are safer.
I think they are doing a much better job at paying attention to what the American consumers want.
While Detroit is doing better than a year ago, the domestic automakers still have plenty of challenges, like getting a new contract with the United Auto Workers. And their new models, like the Ford Taurus, have to bring in buyers. But for now, the sun is finally shining in Motown.
That's CNBC's Phil LeBeau reporting. We're going to take a look at your weather now. Todd Santos at NBC Weather Plus has your forecast. Hi, Todd.
With your retirement living forecast, I'm Weather Plus meteorologist Todd Santos looking at a beautiful day today for much of the Great Lakes extending towards the northeast. Atlanta coming with 92 degrees. Chance for showers and thunderstorms from Dallas through at least Kansas City. Get down towards the Florida Peninsula. Those are likely the better chances for showers and thunderstorms during the daytime. Seattle coming in a bit warmer in the past couple of days. 81 degrees, 80 for tomorrow. A few more clouds from the Great Lakes to the northeast, even all the way down towards the southeast.
Thanks, Todd. Important health news now. More than 43 million Americans will develop age-related eye diseases by the year 2020. And most of those diseases involved are preventable. The trouble is people don't get checked until they begin having symptoms. The American Academy of Ophthalmology is now recommending that all adults be screened for eye disease by the age of 40. And that's the latest from NBC News. I'm Ann Thompson for Retirement Living TV. Now back to you.
Thanks, Ann. Now, Time for Coffee Talk, a chance to talk about whatever's on our minds.
And there's a lot. Joining us this morning is an old Washington hand, former press secretary to Tipper, and later to presidential candidate Al Gore. Kiki McLean, nice to see you.
Thanks for having me this morning. An old hand. I'm an old hand.
Just a long time
Just
hand.
a long time hand. An
Long
experienced
time.
hand.
And speaking of experience, do we think that Whoopi Goldberg is going to bring experience to The View?
I think she'll be awesome. I'm a little jealous. I would love to have that job.
And you would have been great.
I thought it would be great to have a voice of a Southerner on the show. But I think Whoopi's great because Whoopi has a great history of bringing subjects to light with her
She's
humor.
not afraid to go there.
She's not afraid to go there, but she's
she
also
does it in
not.
good taste.
She's also
which I
not
think is
trying
a little bit.
to. She's not trying to win a fight. She's just trying to bring it to light.
One thing that I'm concerned about, though, is that she has openly dissed the President of the United States. She's very anti-Bush. She's said so in comedy routines and things like that. And so now we have these progressives, a liberal, all ganging up on poor Elizabeth Hasselbeck. I mean, is that...
I think Elizabeth Hasselbeck has publicly been for the president. I think they'll be just fine. Look, I think she's shown her mettle. She can take it.
I think so too.
The good news
I
is...
frankly think that Elizabeth can stand on her own 2 feet.
It seems like there's a group of people around that table who want to have a conversation, who want to have a cup of coffee like we're having, who want to make sure that if there are issues that are important, we talk about them, have a little fun with them, take a jab every once in a while, but it's nothing to be angry about.
And bring a little humor to the table.
Yeah.
Do you think their coffee's better than our coffee? I bet the View coffee is better than our coffee.
Do you think? They probably have a latte mix.
Okay,
We probably need
our
that.
question of the day is about The View. So, do you think Whoopi Goldberg is a good choice to host the program? Email us, you know the drill, dailycafe@rl.tv. We'll read some of your responses later in the program.
Speaking of a good choice, Rupert Murdoch has made a good choice.
Wow.
For $5 billion. And the thing that gets me about this one, so finally
Tell. So he takes
finally
over.
he's gotten his
Yeah.
baby. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what
This
he's
is
wanted
it. This
for
is what his
years.
whole life. That's
For
right.
the last decade.
the
he's been going
crown
for this.
jewel.
It
Got
comes
the Wall
down to a
Street Journal.
$40 million legal fee. That was the clincher of the deal? That's what took so long?
Well,
The
sometimes
lawyers
people
held
want
it up because they wanted more money?
No, the
No.
family.
Finally, the family
held
said
it
to
up.
him, sweetheart, you want this newspaper, you're going to have to pay our legal fees.
Wait,
That's what did it.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's what I love about it, because there's a great saying among the truly wealthy, right? There have been some very famous wealthy people who said this, that you don't get rich by spending a whole lot of money. And so if you're a wealthy family, $40 million may be a detail that makes a difference in your checkbook. You know, it may not be the fight
I guess.
you and I
When
would
you
have.
got $5 billion, what's
it's
40 million?
Well, it's monopoly money. To
It
us,
really
it's not
is.
real,
It's play
right?
money.
But,
It's a
but to
rounding
them,
error.
it's
But
a business deal.
Now, Time Warner has been, up until midnight last night, the biggest media conglomerate in the world. Does this make Murdoch the biggest? He's got MySpace and Fox.
Yeah, but the question
and
is
100
is it the biggest
newspapers
by employees or the biggest by influence? See, and what the
I think this now
Wall
makes him
Street
biggest by
Journal does,
influence.
what the Wall Street Journal does, is it gives him a legitimate seat at the table in the fancy restaurant with the linen tablecloths. Not always the new
annual
guy,
lunch.
right?
Right.
He's in the country club now. He gets in the country club with that.
He's more than in the
Yeah,
country club.
exactly.
And by the way, what does this do to CNBC and its deal
That was going to be
with the Wall Street Journal? Because
Well,
inherently, Fox
This puts-
Business Channel goes
this
up
puts
on
more
October
this puts
15.
This puts more competition in the marketplace. And as somebody who works with a lot of media, I have to say to my journalist friends who have struggled through restricting budgets, you know, this may mean that some of the folks working at the Wall Street Journal are going to maybe have a little more budget.
So are we going to see major changes at the Wall Street Journal? What do you think?
No, he's got the committee.
No.
You've heard about the committee.
Absolutely
Part of the
not.
deal was the agreement
Right.
that for the major management
He does
hires
not
and
have
fires.
editorial control.
Exactly. And that's a big deal to the
That is
community.
a big deal. And I mean, and Murdoch was willing to concede that, but over time, is that going to change?
Well, he is
mean,
one
with new
guy. He
leadership?
does own it, and he does have an opinion. So we'll see.
Exactly. I think it's going to change.
$5 billion. I might have picked
Like I
up the
said.
legal fees. I have to say. I think for $5 billion, I would have picked up the legal fees.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be back with more Coffee Talk after this break.
And finally, TV arrives in Afghanistan. And what are they really watching? Reality TV. Why is that?
Even
Well,
in
stay
Afghanistan.
there.
I love it.
We're back. More Coffee Talk. And our guest this morning is Kiki. This afternoon is Kiki McLean.
I'm glad to be here.
And this time we're talking about Back to politics. It's a fave of yours and
Yep.
mine. New poll, NBC News, Wall Street Journal, shows Hillary Clinton at warp speed,
Yep.
at 14 points in a month, separating herself from Obama. So
Breaking
she's,
away.
Yeah, she's what, 21 points ahead of him now.
Well, it's interesting because it's not only that, but it's against Giuliani as well. And you see, one of the great arguments for those who opposed her candidacy, or still do perhaps, is that she's not competitive in the general election.
Right.
Well, this poll, and we're more than a year out, we're 15 months from
I mean,
general
that's
election.
my thing, is I think it's
now-
a little soon
well,
to
but
really be saying that she's the
but
clear
it's-
leader.
But it's not too soon to say, oh, wait a minute, she can be competitive in a general
She certainly
election.
is competitive.
That's a big demonstration. The national polls, I think, reflect what she's been doing so well in these debates, where you see people just tripping over themselves,
isn't
so
it
happy
funny?
about her performance.
We've always said, oh, well, we'll see how he does in the debate. And over the years, it's been very seldom, since Ronald Reagan, that a candidate's really broken out in debate. And this time she has.
Well, she hasn't, because she's been talking about message. It's interesting. You know, the Democratic debate, the field has matured a little politically. They have real proposals. They've got some real substance to debate. So you see a lot more benefit coming to Democrats out of these debates across the board. The Republicans are debating really on process still. How many times has Mitt Romney
mistake.
flip-flopped? Can Giuliani really carry the
Huge
evangelicals?
mistake.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I said to my husband recently after watching one of the debates, I said, if I'm the chairman of the Republican Party, I'm a little nervous tonight because my team's still playing defense and the other team, even though it's amongst themselves, is playing offense. And that's a different kind of scenario than we've had the past couple of
This
times.
is a snapshot. 15 months out, should we put any stock in these polls?
Well, I think you can see momentum and development and growth in her candidacy, and it does mean it takes away the argument she's not competitive for the general election. But in terms of the primary, I would tell people, hang tight, see what state polls are saying around mid-October. You're really going to start to see, after Labor Day in Iowa and New Hampshire, that's when those really important and influential voters start clamping down, making their endorsements, bringing their neighborhoods and their families with them.
But you know what's interesting in this country, and I think it's going to be a perfect segue, I hate to say it, into the next topic. In America, people watch television, and it's all about how they read on TV. And now suddenly in Afghanistan, they have television too, and what's the most popular thing there? Reality television, music videos, things like 24.
I love reality TV. I just have to confess it now.
Really?
I love
Okay.
it.
You know
love
what?
it. I love
Kiki,
it.
I think
have
you're
to say.
terrific,
Yeah,
but I
nice.
can't go there with you.
I have to say, but
can't
you know,
do it.
I love the shows where they go behind the scenes at how a casino works. You know, haven't you seen those? Or
No.
Listen, my 5-year-old, American Idol is a great show in our house when I have a 5-year-old. Who says, Mama, can I watch The Singers? That's a fun show in our house.
Really?
Yeah, my husband
Well, do your
is
kids
not
like
in
that?
agreement with me on this.
My children do watch American Idol.
Really?
But we don't, I mean, they're not nutcases about it. You
No,
know,
we're
if
not
we miss
nutcases,
a
Last
but
time
couple,
I
it's
watched
fun.
a reality television show, it was Ages of Love, and they had 42-year-old
What is that
women
one?
and 22-year-old women
Oh, that-
vying for the same
Okay, I
22-year-old guy.
probably would draw
You
the
gotta
line
be
there.
kidding.
Aggressively offensive.
That I would draw
It
the
is
line on.
aggressively offensive. That's a perfect way to put
I
it.
just can't stand that.
Now that I would
But
have to draw.
But so they're importing the Taliban. We should tell everyone.
Yes.
The Taliban banned television for all those years, and so it was only in 2003 when they fell that television came back. And what are they importing? All this stuff. But interesting that they bought the rights to reruns of 24.
Did they to 24? They did?
You know what's
did.
interesting to me
We bought the rights to 24.
in this story is that, do you know what the most popular television show in South Africa was right before the end of apartheid?
What?
Bill Cosby. You know, it's trite, but it's true. If you can see it, you can be it. Here's an upper middle class family acting like a perfectly normal, happy family. If you can see it, you can
It's
be
all
it. And now
aspirational.
they're watching 24.
You know-
So violent.
But,
I mean-
but look, think about the lives that they're living in their community. Think about the stressed out lives, albeit not on par with the way many Afghan families are having to deal with it.
Right.
But it's about an escape. It's a mini vacation for half an hour, and ultimately, to your point, it's aspirational. Listen, I was a little girl growing up in Texas. How many years did I sit watching the Miss America beauty pageant? Every year. It always came on in the fall just as school was starting.
Speaking of appearances, if you can see it, you can like it. University of Texas latest study shows that lust is the #1 important thing. So women really aren't looking for love. All
Okay.
we want
Big
is lust.
sex study. Leave it to Texas. Big sex study. I mean,
Another
years.
These
Duh.
are my people at the university.
Showing that Men and women
Really, it's all about
have sex
appearances.
for the same reason. Physical attraction. It's
I
not
think
about
the
love.
guys in the
Forget it.
science department knew that already.
They
the guys over in biology
They,
had
they
that
just
one
wanted
down.
to do the study. Are you
Too
kidding?
much
They were
time
having
in
they
our
were having a
hands.
good time doing the study.
I know the question is,
Man.
did they get any funding from NIH for the
No.
study? We'll have to go back
They
and
had to
double
fund
check
it
that.
themselves. They
no
already
doubt.
said that.
No doubt.
Oh, goodness.
It's fun to have you.
I'm
Would you
glad
come
to
back?
be here. This is a great coffee break for me.
Oh, I
Thanks.
love it. Good. All right. Coming up, if you or a loved one suffers from anorexia, we have some important information about getting some treatment.
But first, journalist Juan Williams is here to talk about the 2008 presidential campaign and the debate about withdrawing troops from Iraq. So you stay there, and we'll be back. Journalist Juan Williams is a fixture of both National Public Radio and Fox News, and he hasn't gotten there by being shy. Lately, he's been stirring things up in the African American community by criticizing black leadership and welcoming the end of voluntary efforts to achieve racial balance in public schools. We're here to find out what made him pick those fights. Juan, welcome to Daily Cafe.
Mary Alice, it's great to see you, be here.
I'm glad to see you again. First, let's go right to the political campaign. First time we have an African American man running for national office for the presidency. What do you think?
Fabulous. And in fact, I think this is really a barrier-breaking effort because he's a front runner. He didn't come in from the rear. It's not like he's an also-ran. I think he'll be one of the defining characters in the way that history writes about this campaign. And you think about it, what Jesse Jackson did broke barriers in his time, but Jesse Jackson was an extension of the civil rights movement. I would think that you would almost define what Jackson did in '84 and '88 as a crusade, to say, don't forget us, that kind of thing. And then you get all the excitement about Colin Powell. Remember, in the 90s, people thought he's the most highly respected leader in America.
Right.
Why doesn't he run for president? There was a groundswell for a while. He decided, his wife decided, not for them. And now Barack Obama.
But is it fair to say that without Jesse Jackson and Colin Powell, they really laid the groundwork for this moment?
Absolutely, it's like John the Baptist and Jesus. I don't know that Barack Obama is the one who will get over the top, but maybe, you look toward the future of Barack Obama, or maybe there's somebody else who'll come along. It's a different kind of black politics.
Will Americans vote for a black? It really comes down to that.
Well, you know what we've seen historically now, and you go look at people like
Harold Ford, Tennessee,
well,
2006.
that's most recent, but I look back even farther, Mary Alice. I looked at like Doug Wilder in Virginia, and there was a big margin there in terms of people who said they would vote for him and people who actually did vote for him. Then you come to people like Deval Patrick, currently the governor of Massachusetts, and you know what? That margin shrunk. People who said they'd vote for a black person actually did. And of course, in Barack Obama's case, people seem to be, in terms of giving money, very much out front. Barack Obama is doing great in terms of raising money, right neck and neck with Hillary Clinton.
You may have heard that the margin, that Clinton's margin in the most recent NBC News Wall Street Journal poll has increased 14 points in a month. That's a lot. She's 21 points ahead.
I think she has been masterful in the debates, and she has driven home this point that she has the experience. She's been there. She knows how to handle the difficult war on terror at this moment. And I think in the last debate when she spoke about the fact that she's not willing just to go out and have meetings with foreign leaders, especially American antagonists, while Barack Obama said, oh yeah, let's have meetings, I think lots of people said, wait a second, I like the way it sounds like Hillary's been around the track a few times. Maybe this is just not the moment for Barack Obama.
Today, Obama made a major foreign policy address in which he said, and I am oversimplifying this for purposes of time, that he would pull troops out of Iraq, redeploy them to Pakistan with or without the permission of President Musharraf, who, as you know, has been an ally, just to get Osama bin Laden and the terrorists.
Right, and you know what? I think that this is a really interesting political point, Mary Alice, that Barack Obama is still running for the nomination.
Sure.
And that's why in the debate he said, I'm willing to meet leaders. He's willing to do things.
But is this to build his foreign policy creds?
No. This is to say to the base of the Democratic Party, which wants immediate withdrawal from Iraq, that, you know what, I will do this for you. Mrs. Clinton is, she wants gradually to do this. She's not sure about that. She doesn't want to make a commitment. Here I am making a strong statement right now. We'll get out of Iraq, and we will put the troops on the ground in greater numbers in Afghanistan, go after the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and bin Laden, wherever they're hiding in the hills of Pakistan, no matter what. And so what he's saying, he's redefining the war on terror on his terms, and I think it's an appeal to the base of the party, while Mrs. Clinton is thinking about the general election as well as possibly being president and not wanting to box herself in.
I'm going to go one more time. Will people vote for Barack Obama? Will people vote for a black man, regardless of what they tell pollsters?
Oh, no, I think a greater number. It's not absolute. But what I was trying to say by talking to you about the number of people who will say to a pollster or say publicly, oh, gee, Barack Obama's so wonderful, he's so handsome, he's so smart, all that, I'm enamored of him. In the past, you'd say, oh, yeah, but a lot of those won't vote for him. I think increasingly people will vote for him. But if you're saying to me, will people vote for a white woman before they'll vote for a black man? I think that still is the case according to the numbers.
You think?
Oh, I think that's absolutely the case. Well, there are more white women in the country, obviously, and white men are married to white women in general, so there's more degree of comfort, although they still battle against all their sexism.
I'm changing the subject to your latest book, which has just come out in paperback. Title, from the Shy Boy, is called Enough, The Phony Leaders, Dead-End Movements, and Culture of Failure That Are Undermining Black America.
And what we can do about it.
And what we can do
Everybody,
about it.
what we all can do about it.
Are you blaming black leaders for what the problems are in the black community?
Depends which leaders you're talking about, but if you're talking about people like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, I'm saying, gosh, these guys seem to delight in victimhood and promoting the idea of everybody who's black being a victim, instead of saying to young black people who are particularly, I think, a receptive audience for them, saying, hey, you know what? There's such a tradition of excellence and achievement and overcoming in the black community, and that's who we are. And it's not just showing up when there's the latest police shooting or somebody's alleging discrimination and grabbing the microphone or the television camera. It's really saying to young people, education has always been our most important asset. Right. Stay in school, especially at a time when you've got this huge 50% nationally dropout rate for black and Hispanic kids.
In high school, right?
So get away from the victimhood and say, yeah, the schools may be troublesome, but we know if you stay in school, you're going to do better.
And we can fix them.
Right.
Thanks so much for being with us. Great to see you again.
My pleasure.
And when we come back, we're going to hear a debate on an issue that will affect us all. Do we have a right to decide when we want to die? We'll hear from a woman who says she should have that right. And with the housing market seemingly stalled or even slumped, an expert shows us some ways to sell your home in just 10 days.
Wow.
That and more when Daily Cafe returns.
Live from the nation's capital, this is Daily Cafe. Here again, Mary Alice Williams and Felicia Taylor.
Welcome back. Coming up in this half hour of Daily Cafe, the right to die debate. Should you have the power to end your own life?
But first, another update on the day's headlines. Here's Ann Thompson of NBC News. Ann?
Thank you. On Capitol Hill, former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld is denying any cover-up in the Pentagon's response to the friendly fire death of football star turned Army Ranger Pat Tillman. Rumsfeld told a House panel today he can't remember how he learned Tillman had died or when and how he learned that Tillman's death might have been caused by friendly fire. In business news, Rupert Murdoch now has the Wall Street Journal to add to his media empire. Overnight, Dow Jones & Company, which publishes the Journal, agreed to be bought by Murdoch's News Corp for $5 billion. On the health front, it is a big problem in this country. People who need a new heart and just can't get a transplant. But a revolutionary new experimental technology may be a lifesaver for thousands. It's already a reality for one man. Here's NBC's Mike Taibbi with his story.
Like any other avid golfer from Montreal, 48-year-old Yvon Provencher tees it up as often as he can during the short Canadian season.
I'm gonna need my A game.
But he hits the course every day with different equipment than his golfing pals, specifically a small experimental pump attached to his failing heart that keeps his blood flowing, as long as he changes his external rechargeable batteries in time.
If you didn't have those batteries and that pack and that gear and that equipment,
I'm a dead man.
Yeah.
Though Provencher is strong and getting stronger 6 months after getting his heart pump,
How are you feeling?
Okay.
he almost was a dead man last fall, several times on the golf course.
And I almost collapsed in the bunker at 18 here.
and off the course, too.
In the restaurant, he almost died in front of us, had a heart attack.
But the HeartMate 2 continuous flow pump, no larger than a flashlight battery and rated to last 10 years, has allowed him to quickly resume his normal life with just a few medications and a few idiosyncrasies to get used to.
But I still have no pulse.
Still have no pulse. Okay, so 6.1.
Last fall, Provencher was among the 90% of patients with chronic heart failure unlikely to get one of the 2,000 or so donor hearts available every year, in his case because of a rare blood type. So he needed a version of what heart specialists like Dr. Renzo Ceccheri see as the holy grail.
Crystal clear.
An artificial heart that works as well as, and for as long as, an original or transplanted human heart.
We're looking for a substitute, a long-term substitute for a heart transplantation.
That's NBC's Mike Taibbi reporting. There is also news today about cancer and some common misconceptions about the disease. A new study in the September 1st issue of Cancer magazine shows those misconceptions are rampant among Americans. And those misconceptions include the mistaken idea that cancer deaths are on the rise. They are not, as it turns out, and that air pollution is a greater cancer risk than smoking. We would all love for the skies above our cities to be clearer, but there is still plenty of very good reasons to kick those cigarettes. And here's a piece of video from across the world. In a Sri Lankan community today, villagers and wildlife officials came out to rescue a young elephant that fell into an abandoned well. The elephant was trapped for several hours and tried desperately to get out before a bulldozer was brought in to give him a boost. And there he goes. That's the latest news from NBC News. I'm Ann Thompson for Retirement Living TV. Now back to you.
And thanks, Sienna, again in about a half an hour. Now here are the stories making headlines on Front Page America. Hey, Lois! From the West Central Tribune in Minnesota, a local club of women named Lois celebrated its 20th anniversary. The group began in 1987 with a lunch at a local restaurant. The group meets on the 5th Tuesday of every month to dish and have a meal.
Get it? From the Post-Star, a New York woman has a collection for the ages. Minnie Bolster grew up in Saratoga Springs and has been collecting things that have to do with the city for years. Among her artifacts, rugs, original architectural drawings, old hotel keys, and more than 4,000 postcards. Can you improve on an art classic? From the Montgomery Advertiser in Alabama, someone has been dressing up a replica of the Venus de Milo statue. The statue is located outside Jim's Little Store in Marion. Since the arrival of the statue in May, someone has been adding clothes and even a baby to the Venus. And joining us on the phone is Jim Blanchette of Jim's Little Store. Okay, Jim, do you know who's dressing up the statue?
No, I don't have any idea who's doing it.
And I'm going to assume it's not you.
No, it's not me.
Tell the truth.
I'm telling the truth, positive. I wouldn't have that much imagination.
Do you know what it's going to be for Halloween yet?
No, not yet. We're just anxious to see what it'll be next week.
You mean so it changes clothes every week?
Every 3-4 days. About every 3 or 4 days.
So interactive statuary.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. We never even thought anything would become of it, you know. And we just put the statue there because it was a beautiful statue and it looked, you know, it's really out of place. It has no meaning here. And then somebody just started dressing her up, and that's how it's been going.
So maybe you should hold a contest to find out, you know, somebody should answer the riddle as to who it is.
Yeah. Well, we actually have thought about holding a contest about having whoever can dress her up and look the nicest and then take pictures of it and then maybe turn it into a calendar and for raise for some
That's a great idea.
Marion. Yeah. That was an idea of one of my customers, yeah.
Well, Jim, let us know what ends up happening, and if you find out who it is, give us a call.
Okay.
Jim Blanchette of Jim's Little Store.
Thanks, Jim.
On to a much more serious subject, and this is something that I think everyone has an opinion about. The right to die debate is one of the most emotionally charged issues in our country. In fact, those on either side of the debate can sometimes seem so emotionally entrenched that it becomes impossible to find common ground.
Joining us now on the phone is Marcelle Jones. She is currently suffering from several different ailments and wants to end her own life if her condition becomes terminal. also,
Here in the studio, we have two gentlemen, Dr. James Lieberman, a professor of psychiatry at George Washington University. He supports euthanasia. And also with us in Washington is Dr. John Harvey, a veteran in the field of bioethics who teaches at Georgetown Medical School. He opposes euthanasia. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you here to discuss this topic, which, as we said, is so emotionally charged for so many people. State your opinion. Why are you in favor of it? Not in favor, but support the issue.
I wouldn't call it euthanasia. We call it physician aid in dying.
And what is the difference?
Well, euthanasia is a larger embracing term that sometimes means that the doctor can administer a dose of a medicine that would cause death. In Oregon, which is the one state in the country that allows physician aid in dying, the patient may ask for it. 2 weeks later, has to ask for it again, put it in writing, has to be examined by doctors who say that lifespan is very close to ending. And then in some cases, they will be allowed to have a prescription, which they can then take should suffering become too extreme.
And Dr. why are you opposed to it?
Well, I think I'm opposed to it because philosophically and theologically, I base my reasoning upon the revelation of God, that you shall not kill. And so those who are for euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide, and those of us who are against it, basically will probably never be able to come to grips with it. I feel that euthanasia, ending life, we have now palliative care that we have developed to such an extent that I honestly believe that there is no patient who cannot be treated to prevent pain, suffering, and to let them die naturally.
Doctor, while you're at that point, I'm going to ask our other guest to join the conversation, and that is Marcel, who is sick, suffering, obviously in pain. Marcel, explain to us why you want to be able to have this choice.
Okay, thank you, first of all, for including me. I'm 82 years old, and in October of 2003, I was diagnosed with lung cancer in the upper lobe of the left lung. Well, I was advised I was not a candidate for surgery, and that I would not survive it. Okay, in the meantime, not to take too much time, I have been receiving chemotherapy by way of a pill now. I have looked quite straight into the face of, well, I can't say death yet, but I would choose I would say the reasons that I choose to perhaps ask for sufficient pain medication, ask for pain medication, in the hope that by the time the pain is that bad, that it will take me along with it. I understand. I am a member of an organization which has been the Hemlock Society and still is elsewhere, now Compassion and Choices. It is since diagnosis that I, as I say, have looked straight at this and for the mission of that organization, a peaceful and painless death. I can understand, I do understand, those whose religious convictions do not permit this. Mine do.
Marcel, wait 1 second. Please stay with us in this conversation. Doctor, when you hear a patient like that, what's your reaction? She admits that obviously, theologically, she understands the concern and the reasons, but you also must understand her perspective and wanting the choice.
Oh, I think a good doctor does understand the perspective of patients. And I think the good doctor tries to help the patient come to grips with his or her understanding and wishes. But I think that, in essence, to kill, to cure, is not what physicians are all about. And I say again that with the development of palliative care, there is, we could really take care of pain. And we have to look to see if a person is depressed and does not realizing his or her depression, but blaming their feelings on their pain.
Dr. Lieberman, do you express the same kind of opinion in the sense that you look for depression first to see if that's what's driving them to make that kind of a decision, or do you approach it from a different way?
I think the knowledge that one will not have to suffer needlessly when death is approaching is itself an antidepressant. And I've been interested in suicide prevention all of my career. In Oregon, very few people use the option of physician aid in dying, but the provision that exists in law, and by the way, assisting suicide is illegal in most states, including Oregon.
Right.
We do not call it assisted suicide, we call it physician aid in dying. And a patient like we just heard will be reassured and empowered knowing that should it become unbearable, that her doctor has or will prescribe if she is close to death. Anyway, these people are not suicidal in that sense. They want to live.
Sure.
But
not that way.
That's right. And so they feel that taking into their own hands this choice is in a sense life-giving. And for the family, who instead of a suicide where everyone is bereft and anguished and furious, the family is actually comforted by the experience and grateful.
And on that note, we are going to continue this discussion about the right to die and assisted suicide right after this break.
Also, Donna Shalala helped lead a bipartisan group looking into the treatment of our veterans. She'll talk about the recommendations her panel came up with to better care for our servicemen and women.
And also our series looking into alternative medicine continues with a look at cupping. Gwyneth Paltrow's done it. Do you want to do it? Daily Cafe will continue right after this break.
We're back with more on our conversation about euthanasia and the right to die. And with us on the phone is Margaret from Ohio. Hello, Margaret. What's your comment or question?
Margaret, are you there? Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead, Margaret.
Yes. My comment is that I do support euthanasia. And I support it for many reasons. First of all, the baby boomers are moving into that stage. But most important, I see my mother suffering from advanced Alzheimer's. And I see that she has no quality of life, and that euthanasia would give her a respectful death.
Is this a conversation you had with her before the onset of Alzheimer's?
Yes, as a matter of fact, she always told me that she would never want to be in the situation that she's in now, completely hopeless, helpless, and cannot do anything for herself. And she always related to me that she would not want to live in this way.
But doctors, this is not a decision that the adult child can make, right?
No, and in Oregon, even the Alzheimer's patient cannot be helped in the way that a cancer patient could be. By the way, I agree with Dr. Harvey on 99.9% that hospice is the way, that many people think hospice is a place where you go, but in 80% of the cases, hospice care is at home. They come to you. That palliative care is the way, but with Alzheimer's, it's simply a state. It is a terminal disease ultimately, but usually in the early stages when people are competent mentally to make choices, they're not terminally ill, and when they are terminally ill, it's too late.
So it's not a choice that a person with Alzheimer's can do?
No.
I mean, they have to administer it to themselves. Obviously, a
That's
child
correct.
can't
So they're not
do
covered by the Compassionate Choices
Such
program.
a tough situation that Margaret is in.
Yes, it's very difficult.
Holly from Ohio. Or, I'm sorry, Holly from Pennsylvania. Holly?
Yes, I want to say that I feel very strongly that we have the right to do with our own bodies what we want. And I just heard what you said about Alzheimer's patients. I think that is a travesty of justice. And I think when somebody's terminally ill, they appoint a power of attorney for medical power of attorney. That person should have the right if they have conversations. It should be more than one person, but they should be able to say what the person wanted and do that with the 2-week span.
Even with a power of attorney, that's not possible yet, is it?
It would be theoretically possible to say, if I can't feed myself anymore, then I do not wish to be fed. And in that case,
therein lies
if the person
decision.
Literally couldn't do it anymore, but please keep me comfortable.
But isn't that part of a DNR,
Yes.
that do not resuscitate, that we all should?
It's an advanced directive, and whether it
Yeah.
would be upheld in the case of Alzheimer's, I'm not sure.
Dr. Lieberman, what is your feeling about this?
I think it would be upheld in Alzheimer's case to say, when I can't feed myself, I don't want to be fed artificially. Because what you're doing with artificial feeding in that case is adding burdens to the patient that are not beneficial. And the burdens outweigh the benefits.
So we agree also that we're not interested in prolonging the dying process.
Never.
It's a question of whether a person can choose to accelerate it slightly.
Okay.
And along that line, I think it's important to say that patients want to live. The cancer patients continue to go after one treatment after another, urged by their cancer physicians. And there comes a time when we know that treatment is not going to be effective at all, but people still want to go on, and the treatment sometimes can be worse than the supposed cure, because the cure is not going to come. And there comes a time, really, with I think a good doctor, talking with his patient and the family, knowing them well, can say, it's time now for us to stop the treatment and let nature take its course, and we're going to keep you very comfortable during this time.
Let it be God's will.
Right, and let it be God's will.
Doctors, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. It is an emotionally charged issue. Marcel, as well, thank you for being with us this afternoon. Mary Alice?
And now to treating our wounded veterans. Last month, President Bush received the report of the Commission on Care for America's Returning Wounded Warriors. It's called for 6 major steps to reform and improve the care and benefits for our veterans. Co-chair of the commission was Dr. Donna Shalala, Secretary of Health and Human Services under President Clinton, and currently President of the University of Miami. Dr. Shalala joins us from Miami. Thanks so much for being with us, Madam President.
You're welcome.
Tell me how such a good medical system can have such bad care. How did this happen?
Well, I think that if you ask the soldiers and sailors and Marines that came through, that they got very good care in the hospitals, high quality care. The military has some of the best physicians and nurses in the world. It was once they became an outpatient, needed housing, needed rehabilitation, needed access to benefits and understand what was going to happen to them in the future, including applying for disability if it was appropriate. That's when things got confusing and were simply not well handled. And our recommendations speak specifically to that. But any veteran that we asked, they thought they got first-class care from the battlefield through the hospital period.
Right. And uniformly, everyone says it's the best medicine in the world is what they're getting actually in the MASH units and in the field.
Exactly.
But the problem is the bureaucracy, and you've made recommendations to streamline some of that bureaucracy, yes?
And actually, to simplify it. I realize it's a horrible word in Washington, but to make it very clear as to what you ought to do and when you ought to do it. For instance, we recommended for these very complex cases, after all, people are living now where they would have died in previous wars, that, you know, this business of their mothers and sisters and fathers or a spouse giving up a job to go coordinate your care is simply unacceptable. We can hire a recovery coordinator, have a recovery plan worked out by the doctors and the other health professionals, and one person that is responsible for you as you go through the system, right through the benefits process. Look, in my town, in Miami, if a police officer goes down, is shot, one officer is assigned to that person until they're either back up on their feet and back in the police department, or they're out on disability. It's a simple, straightforward way of handling care.
You talk about simplifying the system, but you have suggested adding an extra layer of bureaucracy by asking the public health services to be those advocates for the wounded soldiers.
Well, we wanted to put the recovery coordinators in a place where when we didn't have a surge, there would be other responsibilities. We also wanted them to be independent and to have the authority to do the job. It's actually not an extra layer. One of the soldiers on our panel said he had so many care coordinators, he couldn't remember all their names. For each thing that was done to him, there was a care coordinator. Get rid of all those people, have a single person that follows the individual, explains to their family what access to benefits they have, explains to the individual that's been hurt what they need to do next, and make sure they get to their appointments and get the information they need.
And are they going to recognize post-traumatic stress disorder as as serious a problem as it is?
Well, one of the things that we said very clearly is that mental health has to have equity with physical health. And being able to both define and to diagnose post-traumatic stress disorder, something the military has been doing research on for years, making sure the diagnosis is clear, that there's a strategy for the individual. In many cases, it's managing that disease that's important.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shalala. Good to see you again.
You're welcome. Mary Alice, it's been a long time.
It has been a long time. It's good to see you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, we all worry about appearance and the weight gain that seems to come in with age. So you may be shocked to learn that anorexia is a growing problem for people our age. And it's not just for kids. Finger painting. It's always been fun, but for some, it's art. You'll meet Alan Montague and his remarkable gift when Daily Cafe returns.
Live from the nation's capital, this is Daily Cafe with Mary Alice Williams and Felicia Taylor.
Welcome back to the second hour of Daily Cafe. I'm Mary Alice Williams. And I'm Felicia Taylor. We have a lot to discuss this hour. You know, this is a disease that's associated with models and movie stars who fight to keep a particular look or maintain their weight, anorexia. But now it's killing women our age.
And in our segment on relief or ripoff, cupping, heating small areas of the body to offer relief for aches and pains. But first, it's time for another update from NBC News and Ann Thompson. Ann?
Thank you. In the South Pacific, a 7.2 magnitude earthquake, that's a big one, struck near the tiny island of Vanuatu today. But officials say there is no risk of a tsunami in the Pacific Ocean or a threat to Hawaii, and so far, no injuries have been reported. It's been a bad day in Baghdad. At least 70 people have died in 3 separate attacks across the capital. Meanwhile, another political setback. The main Sunni Arab political bloc has quit the coalition government because its demands, including better security, were not met. And in Afghanistan today, another deadline has passed for the 21 South Koreans held by the Taliban. Meanwhile, the Afghan military has dropped leaflets in the area warning of an upcoming operation to free the hostages. 2 hostages have already been killed. There is more bad news for the airline industry. After brutal delays for travelers across the country these past 2 months, today British Airways was fined almost $550 million by regulators in the U.S. and Britain after that airline acknowledged it colluded with Virgin Airlines, its rival company, on fuel surcharges. And now for a check on your weather, let's head over to Todd Santos at NBC Weather Plus. Todd?
With your retirement living forecast, I'm Weather Plus meteorologist Todd Santos looking at a beautiful day today for much of the Great Lakes extending towards the northeast. Atlanta coming with 92 degrees. Chance for showers and thunderstorms from Dallas through at least Kansas City. Get down towards the Florida Peninsula. Those are likely the better chances for showers and thunderstorms during the daytime. Seattle coming in a bit warmer in the past couple of days. 81 degrees, 80 for tomorrow. A few more clouds from the Great Lakes to the northeast, even all the way down towards the southeast.
Thanks, Todd. From one hot subject to another, one that's certainly a touchy subject, sex. Recently, some researchers asked a very simple question. Why do we do it? Here's NBC's Don Teague with some answers.
Researchers from the University of Texas asked nearly 2,000 men and women why they've had sex. They got back 237 different reasons.
Human sexual motivations are very complex, far more complex than anyone has realized before.
The top 3, pretty much the same for both sexes: to experience physical pleasure, because it feels good, and because they were attracted to the person.
But further down the list, there were some surprises. People having sex to feel closer to God, or reason number 176, to burn calories.
For the record, running burns a lot more calories, about 800 per hour.
That's NBC's Don Teague reporting. We have some other health news for you. With more than 600,000 American women expected to undergo a hysterectomy this year, some medical experts fear that number might be too high. Doctors agree the surgery is necessary to treat cancer, but according to the latest statistics, 90% of hysterectomy patients undergo the procedure for non-life-threatening reasons, like treating pelvic pain or removing benign tumors. For the non-life-threatening cases, critics say doctors need to learn alternative techniques, eventually phasing out the surgery altogether. And San Francisco's Barry Bonds still has not surpassed Hank Aaron's all-time home run record. Last night, Bonds struck out, was walked twice, and was safe on an error as a positively inhospitable crowd booed him at LA's Dodger Stadium. The Giants won the game, but Bonds remains one home run away from Hank Aaron's career record of 755. And that's it for now from NBC News. I'm Ann Thompson for Retirement Living TV. Now back to you.
Thank you, Ann. Anorexia. It's a devastating eating disorder that affects people of all ages, and the older you are, the more dangerous it is.
Eileen Binkley is with us here in Washington. She's now in her 60s and didn't fully realize that her anorexia until her late 40s.
Dr. Harry Brandt is an eating disorder specialist. Thanks to both of you for joining us today. Eileen, begin by telling me, when did this start?
Well, it actually began when I was in my early teens. I had my first bout with anorexia. Of course, that was so long ago. It was on no one's radar. So,
did you understand what it was?
No, I don't think so. I think I just thought I was anemic. The issues were not dealt with, and I just
And by
sort
the
of
time you
repressed
got
them.
to age 61, how bad was it?
I was eating about 350 calories a day. I had constant chest pain. I had anemia, terrible headaches. I was withdrawing from my friends, my family.
Did anybody, any of those people that are close to you, say anything to you about what was happening and it just didn't register? Because obviously people would notice.
Yes, they noticed. My family noticed, I think, but I had been thin for so long and I had sons, and I think they just thought, well, Mom is skinny. She's just naturally that way. My husband thought I was just having problems with work. My friends, my close friends that I worked with every day, they're the ones that finally intervened and got me some treatment.
Doctor, where does it come from? I mean, what is this disease that affects so many people? And it's not just women, by the way, it's men too.
Yes, it is men, and we're seeing patients from a much broader range of different areas, men, older individuals, younger individuals. But there's no one cause of an eating disorder. It's a multi-dimensional illness with
Is it emotions?
But
Is it depression?
it's a mental illness, right?
It is a mental disorder, but it's a disorder with many underpinnings. Genetics are involved, clearly. We know that this illness runs in families. Our society is certainly involved with its overemphasis on the importance of being thin to be considered attractive and successful in our culture. Depression can play a major role. There are a whole range of factors that come into a final common pathway of disease for an individual.
Is it a disease that you ever get over?
Well, having treated...
You can live with it, but do you ever get over it?
Well, I have seen some people who have resolved enough of the underlying issues that they've remained well for many, many years. Do they still have a vulnerability? Sure. And do they still need to be careful to maintain appropriate nutrition? Sure. But there are some individuals who have done very, very well with appropriate treatment.
We began by saying that it's even, as dangerous as anorexia is to any age, it's even more dangerous as we get older because of what happens to our bodies in the normal aging process, right?
Yes, that's certainly true. I'm amazed at the resiliency of the human body for individuals in their teens and young adult years. That when they do resolve the issues and begin to eat more normally, the body has an ability to really restore itself in many ways. There are some exceptions to that. But as a person
I know
ages...
somebody that's literally lived with it for 70 years, and I don't think she has yet acknowledged that there's a problem.
She's actually very lucky to have been able to live with the illness process for that long, because there's about a 5% mortality per decade. That is, as the decades go on, a person has a greater and greater chance of succumbing to the illness. But there are people who live with this illness for many, many years. But there's also a lot of people who die from it.
How do you feel that you're coping with the disease now?
I was talking earlier that there was a time when I really thought I could never ever say that I was recovered, that it would just be something I'd always have to be very vigilant about. And while I still feel I have to be vigilant, I think within the last year or two, I really like to think of myself as recovering, as recovered, that I've gone to the other side. So I'm
That's
very
a huge accomplishment.
hopeful.
I mean, you should feel very proud that you can say that.
Thank you.
I think it's terrific because you look wonderful, and I'm sure you've always looked wonderful, but now you're healthy, and that's great. We have a viewer on the line. Linda, what's your comment or question?
I just want to let you know that I've overcome anorexia.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you.
How did you live with it? How did you understand that this was a disease you needed to overcome?
Excuse me?
How did you know that this was a disease that you needed to overcome? At what point did you realize this was something you needed to face?
Oh, it was a nightmare. It was just ruining my life. I was suffering, and I was hospitalized, and I was put on medicine and all kinds of things. And it really was hellish, even though people didn't know that, and I didn't let on to that. It was a living nightmare for me. Not at first, but after a while, I really wanted to eat, but I wouldn't allow myself to eat.
Yeah, it is, doctor. Thank you for that comment. It is, doctor, a thing that you think you're controlling, and in the end, it's controlling you, yes?
No question about it. And denial is often a part of the illness, so there are many people who really don't acknowledge that they're struggling.
Very quickly, Eileen, what kind of treatment did you get after your coworker's intervention?
I received treatment at the Renfrew Center in Philadelphia, and I really have to credit them with turning my life around. I went through their gamut of treatment programs, starting with just therapy to all the way up to inpatient treatment.
Well, Eileen, thank you for coming in, and Doctor, thank you for your helpful advice for all those out there that may or may not be suffering from it.
Thank you.
Still to come on Daily Cafe, fire cupping. I can't even say it.
I know.
Fire
I
cupping.
don't get it. I'll say it right now. I don't get it.
It's been around for several millennia. It's not very well understood by us. We'll have a demonstration right here on the program.
Then deadheading. Nope, we're not talking about the Grateful Dead. We're talking about removing bulbs and stems from your garden. See how it's done. We'll be right
relaxing.
back.
You'll like it.
Really?
Yeah. You're watching Daily Cafe. It's time to look at your responses to our question of the day. Do you think Whoopi Goldberg is a good choice to replace Rosie O'Donnell on The View? Alicia, what are they saying?
Okay, Mark in Ohio. As long as it's not Rosie O'Donnell, I'll be happy. You could replace Rosie with a stuffed animal or a piece of fruit, and it would be an improvement. Congratulations, Whoopi. I wish you the best. Sean in New Jersey says, Whoopi will be a great host. She has always been a great comedian and has staying power. She will help with the dynamic of the show, and she'll be able to contribute without being a problem to the other hosts. And Monique in California says, I'm disappointed that The View didn't select both Whoopi Goldberg and Sherri Shepherd as co-hosts. I guess that was too much color for ABC.
I actually was surprised. I thought that was going to be a job sharing situation because Whoopi has other projects.
That was the talk. Yeah, but they went solo. Okay, we're talking deadheading. It's not just about following the Grateful Dead from town to town.
It's also a term for taking off the wilted flower bulbs and stems. Our Sandra Pinckney got a lesson from RLTV's gardening expert, Joe Lerner.
We're here at Brookside Gardens with master landscape designer Joel Lerner, and today we're going to learn all about deadheading, something I'm really not all that confident about because actually, Joe, you have to cut the blooms off, and I think that's so cruel.
Oh, well, you just have to pluck the blooms off when you're talking about annuals.
Oh, okay.
And so the annuals, and the two annuals that benefit the most by deadheading, and by deadheading, I don't mean following the Grateful Dead, you know, I mean taking...
You don't?
No.
Oh.
And you
okay.
thought for an aging population, of course, that's what I'd be talking about.
Well.
No, I mean actually removing the spent blooms.
Okay.
And so when you remove the spent blooms, what you do is encourage it to bud up and flower again.
So it's actually better for the plant if I remove the dead blooms.
Yeah, and let me show you how easy it is. Go ahead, just pluck it off of there.
Really, that's all you have to do?
That's all you have to do.
Oh, so you don't really have to cut anything?
You don't have to cut a thing for the petunias.
Better.
Just lift them off like that.
Okay.
So any of the blooms that have faded, you would lift off, and you're going to have all new blooms, new buds, new flower buds forming, and new blooms forming on this plant. So this plant, because of what we just did, will be twice as full in about 2 or 3 days.
You know what, Joel?
Because of all of those blooms you just plucked off of there.
Well, you know what? I have petunias, and I did something a couple of weeks ago. I had a bare spot in the garden, and I decided to move them gently to another part of the garden, and they just said, forget it. They died on me.
Well, that's a nice idea anyway, but you moved them probably too late into the summer. You need to move them in the springtime when you have cool temperatures and they can adapt.
Okay.
But now for something else that we can deadhead.
What?
That's a little bit more involved would be daylilies.
Okay, I'd like to learn how to do that.
Entire flowering scape on those.
Okay, show me.
Okay, let's go over there.
This way. There's so much I don't know about gardening, but one thing I seriously didn't know is that you're supposed to deadhead lilies.
Deadheading lilies, yes,
Why?
absolutely. Daylilies, specifically daylilies. That's
Show
to
me.
keep them from going to seed. So when they're flowering, of course, we don't want to deadhead them when they're looking their best. And here's another bud that's just about to open. But now here's a bud that has fully opened and starting to go to seed right now.
You don't want that.
And so this is on something called a scape. And the scape should be cut all the way to the base of the plant.
Is a scape the same thing as a stem?
And so you would lift the scape. It's a flowering stem.
A flowering stem.
A flowering stem I call a scape. Now,
Okay.
it isn't in the dictionary.
So we want to take care of all of these, right?
So anything where you have faded flowers. Here's another one.
That's gotta go.
Well, that has a few flowers still on it. So on the basis of that, I would just take these few that are going to seed, and I would allow those to continue along flower before I deadhead it.
What about this?
Yeah,
This looks pretty sad.
This looks pretty good, but you know, I would just pluck these off, and I would allow this to continue to flower.
Okay.
Because none of these have gone to seed
And look
yet.
at this,
And
seed.
so that would be part of the deadheading as well. Ah, here's a scape that needs to be removed. Otherwise, it's going to take the energy,
Now, Joel, why is it
growth
important
energy
to,
from the plant.
why is it important to cut it right at the base like that?
Because the scape will just turn brown at this point anyway. So that's cutting the entire scape is almost an ornamental call. Cutting the top is to keep it from going to seed so that the energy will go into the growth of the plant as opposed to going into the seeding of the plant.
All right, thanks.
Now to our week-long series looking at alternative medicine. Today, fire cupping. I said it. It's been a part of Chinese medicine for more than 2 millennia, but it's not as well known here in the West.
This is alternative. Supporters say it can treat respiratory diseases such as pneumonia and bronchitis. But is it for real? I'm a little bit of a skeptic. Does it bring relief or is it a ripoff?
Bill Reddy's an acupuncturist who uses fire cupping treatment. Thank you for coming in, Bill. What exactly is this?
Well, it goes back a long way, as you said, about 2,000 years or more, and it used to be called horn method because they used to use a horn of an animal. Today we use either glass cups. I also have plastic cups here. You can zoom in on this one.
They can be glass or plastic, is that the idea?
And these are plastic cups that come in different diameters, and it's based on what place on your body you're going to be using.
Can you show us how this works? Because I have to tell you, this looks positively medieval.
You're absolutely right. So the way I look at it is if there's a patient that owes me money, I make sure I do this on them, okay?
Right.
So typically, one way it's done is with bamboo cups, and you dip them in some kind of boiling herb, and then it gets hot and you place it on the patient's back.
So, but what's the theory behind it? Okay, if it really does relieve respiratory ailments, pain, so on and so forth, in what way does it do that?
Okay. In Chinese medicine, they believe that if he has pain, let's say in medial scapula area right here, it's because there's a blockage or stagnation of energy in his body.
Okay.
And by placing this cup on this area, it's supposed to disperse that energy blockage and get it so that it flows well, and then the pain goes away. In reality, in terms of Western medicine, what it does is it will take and tug apart connective tissue it's stuck together called tissue adhesions. And these adhesions will cause you pain because you can imagine this, if you have a nerve that's running through a muscle, between two muscles, and the muscles are in spasm, you're going to get this, it's going to be grabbing, and that's going to cause pain because of the pressure on your nerve.
Okay.
This cupping, you move it around on the person's body.
Can you show us how it works?
Absolutely. So in the fire method, what you do is you take a hemostat.
Why is the heat important?
You light it on fire just because of physics, and I'll explain that in a moment. You place it in and out onto the person. Okay, let's see. You didn't have much. There we go. So as you can see, it's a little bit foggy in there, but you can see about a half a golf ball of
Just a
flesh.
slight sensation.
But
it's very tolerable.
But your skin is rising into a giant, it looks like a hematoma. Is that what it is?
Absolutely. This will cause a big circular hickey on his back, and for those people who know Gwyneth Paltrow's cupping marks on her back, that's very common. And sometimes I will have them placed in one position. If it were up just slightly, thoracic number 3 vertebra, that at that level is where the nerve that innervates the lung comes from. And so that
How long do you leave it there?
It depends. This, for a particular treatment, about 3 minutes to 10 minutes.
And how long will that red mark stay there?
No, it depends on how quickly they heal. You know,
Days, weeks?
You know, a few days, sometimes just an hour in some folks.
Now tell me what sensation you're feeling.
It feels a little uncomfortable, but it's very bearable. I don't mind it at all.
Have you done this before?
No, this is the first time,
Oh,
so it's a new
quite
experience
brave.
for me.
But should the sensation be soothing, or is he supposed to feel a little discomfort before he feels relief?
No, you know, in some cases you can say no pain, no gain. If I move this cup around on someone who doesn't have tissue adhesions, it's going to feel like a funny kind of massage.
Okay.
If they have tissue adhesions, it's going to be pretty uncomfortable. And so I start out at DEFCON 1 and work my way up to DEFCON 5.
And this can
where
be
5
done
is pretty
anywhere on the body, right? I mean, most commonly it seems to be demonstrated on the back. Whenever I've seen pictures, it's always on somebody's back.
Absolutely. If someone has IT band syndrome, iliotibial band syndrome, you can move the cup along that band and help release the pain. So if the thing is that if the suction's too high, you need to take your finger and try to release some of the air. So you let a little air in, and then it comes down a little bit. Now, that's how you control it in the old method, which is kind of a bother in a clinical setting. So you can see nice big red hickey on his back. And then I'll demonstrate moving cupping, which is a little bit more common to what I use. And usually I would put just a little bit of oil on the patient, move it around a little bit. So you're asking about why using fire, and the answer is because you would heat something up so the air would get hot. When air is hot, it's less dense. And then when it cools, it becomes more dense, and that's where the vacuum comes from.
Now, how often would somebody seek out this kind of treatment?
Oh, I would see them, you know, depending on the severity of the problem, maybe twice a week.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Twice a week?
Okay, medieval. Medieval.
Okay, so sucked a little bit of air out like that, and then I would move it on the patient like this.
Oh.
Okay, and how does that feel?
Oh, that feels great. It's like getting a nice massage.
So the difference between massage or Rolfing or anything like that compared to cupping is the fact that this really creates a shear on the tissue, and that shear is what can tug apart the connective tissue and make it happy again. So this is really exceptional. Like I said, I've used it with great results with people who have really bad cough for the bronchitis. How it works, I don't know when it comes to the respiratory conditions. I'm guessing about the nerve coming out of the
So you're saying
spine.
there's solid evidence that this actually works for some patients?
Oh, absolutely. If you go on the NIH website, NLM, National Library of Medicine, and NLM.
This comes under the heading of complementary and alternative medicine.
Yes, it does.
Legitimately, wow.
But if you type in acupuncture, you'll get over you'll get over 11,000 hits. So, but that's acupuncture in general. If you talk about cupping, I'm not too sure how much because I haven't done a lot of research in the cupping area. I just know it works.
Well, thank you for coming in to demonstrate.
That's my
Now we
pleasure.
know what cupping is, and thank you for being such a good sport.
Oh, my pleasure.
Still ahead on Daily Cafe. You want to move, but the market's bad right now for sellers.
That's an understatement. How to sell your home in 10 days. We'll be right back.
Live from the nation's capital, this is Daily Cafe. Here again, Mary Alice Williams and Felicia Taylor.
Welcome back. The housing market may be down, but if you're looking to sell your home, we've got an expert who says you could do it in just 10 days.
Wow. Also this half hour, we'll be monkeying around with Peter Tork. He's going to talk about his days with the monkeys and the new CD that he has out now.
The monkeys. But first, another check of the headlines with Ann Thompson of NBC News. Annie?
Thanks. Former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld told a House panel today there was no cover-up by the Pentagon following the friendly fire death of NFL superstar turned Army Ranger Pat Tillman. The military originally said Tillman was killed by enemy fire, but the truth surrounding his death in April 2004 didn't come out until weeks later. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission is out with its first list of hidden home hazards, and you may be surprised about just how many things around your home can cause you harm. The top 5 include magnets, recalled products, window and window coverings, and pool and spa drains. The commission says those everyday things have caused injuries and deaths in American homes. Now to a small solution being offered up in the fight against climate change, something you can do in your own backyard. It is part of the movement to eat more locally grown food, but in this case, we're talking about city residents who are taking that term even closer to home. Here's NBC's Kevin Tibbles.
Summer's bounty, fresh off the vine, all growing in the shade of the inner city.
Well, we got beets, carrots, turnips.
What was once one of Chicago's 70,000 vacant lots is now the city farm, an urban oasis full of fresh vegetables.
We can't always get our food from long distance. It's not good for us by having been processed and transported and stored so much, and it's not good for the planet.
This Red Eggs Beets short journey across town not only saves on transportation costs, it also helps keep this garden growing. Organic vegetables are sold to 15 top local restaurants who crave their freshness.
They're archetypal, perfect.
Profits from sales to restaurants then subsidize the price residents in this low-income neighborhood pay for their garden fresh goodness.
You get it fresh from the ground, fresh to the pot.
Nothing tastes better. That's NBC's Kevin Tibbles reporting. Oil prices fell today after surging to a record close yesterday of $78.21 a barrel. But yesterday's high brings us to an interesting question. Why have oil prices generally been rising as gas prices fell for the second straight week? Well, with oil, there may be some supply and demand reasons for the higher prices, but experts say the main reason is speculating investors. It seems that traders keep on betting oil prices will go higher and higher. Let's just hope with the more refurbished refineries coming back online, the price of gas keeps falling, at least for the near future. Some mixed news on the home sales front. A new report shows pending sales rose last month. It was the biggest monthly gain in 3 years, according to the National Association of Realtors. But despite the gain, the overall number of pending sales is still well below last year's levels. And finally, with all this shaky financial news, it might not make many bosses happy to find out what a new survey confirms, that there is plenty of play at work. Salary.com says the average worker goofs off nearly 2 hours per day surfing the web and chatting with coworkers. But there's also good news. Wasting time on the job is down 20%. And with that, I'm going to go surf the web and gossip with my coworkers. That's the latest from NBC News. I'm Ann Thompson for Retirement Living TV. Now back to you.
Thanks, Ann. You know, these days everyone is talking about going green. From recycling to reusing, there's a big push to get us all thinking about the environment. But can you still go green when it comes to makeup and personal care? Diane McKirchen says, yes, you can. Diane is the CEO of BigGreenPurse.com, a website dedicated to women's environmental concerns. Now, when it comes to makeup, I have to honestly say, I've never even thought about going green. I didn't know it was really absolutely possible. So, where do we begin?
Well, we can start with any number of these products. These are all products that you would find either in your makeup bag or in your bathroom. And most people don't realize that they contain at least 4 or 5 ingredients that you want to watch out for.
Okay.
These are all pretty good products, apart from the one that I would pull out first, which is this one. And the reason why I flag it is because it says...
It happens to be a product I use.
And it says right on the box, antibacterial. And the reason why you want to stay away from as many antibacterials as you can is because we're all building up a resistance to the antibacterial products that we really need when we go to the hospital. So you don't...
Because this is pegged by my dermatologist as being the one with the least sort of perfumes, toxins, things like that, and that's why she has it on my skin, because it's not supposed to be damaging. Is that wrong?
Well, the problem is that antibacterials are showing up in window cleaner. They're showing up in all kinds of soaps. They're showing up in perfume. They're showing up in soap that you use in the shower. You just don't need antibacterials in just about everything, and actually they're now being put into about 50% of the products that we're buying for personal care. So if you really don't need an antibacterial, stay away from it. Right.
Okay.
That's shower gel. You know, a lot of the shower products that we're using contain things like parabens and phthalates, and that all sounds very chemical, but in fact, these are products that they sort of mimic the hormones that we have in our bodies, and when we wash them off and they go down the drain, they get into our rivers and streams, and what happens is they mess around with the poor little frogs and the fish and all these creatures that are actually living in the environment.
So if it says parabens, no good.
Try and stay away from it. And phthalate, those kinds of things are actually things you want to stay away from.
Okay, so I've tried this toothpaste too, and I don't like it.
You don't like it? Well, see, maybe you can find something that you do like, because it turns out that actually a lot of toothpastes have all kinds of chemicals in them that you'd be surprised. You know, they sound natural, but in fact, one of the things about Tom's and Burt's Bees is that they've got a minimum amount of ingredients. And a nice little trick that you can do is just read the label. If you're comparing products in the store, pick the one that has the least amount of ingredients in it.
Is fluoride okay? I mean, because obviously that's why we buy toothpaste, right?
Fluoride seems to be safe. You just don't want to overdo it. Every product doesn't need fluoride. Stick with the toothpaste. It doesn't need to have to be in the mouthwash.
Okay. What's this one?
Shampoo.
Shampoo.
You know,
okay.
One of the nice things and one of the reasons why we have so many products here is because there are now so many products on the market that are environmentally friendly. You know, before it used to be that it was just 1 or 2 that were available, but because there has been this explosion of environmental interest, you have so many options.
So what don't you want in your shampoo?
Well, again, you don't want the parabens, you don't want the phthalates. If you can avoid fragrance, manufacturers are putting fragrance into so many things. You really don't need fragrance because it contains phthalates. And again, once these things get into the water stream, we're sort of sunk.
This is a company that I think everybody is now familiar with. Burt's Bees is pretty much universal. I mean, you can find it almost anywhere,
and that's
even
the
the
great
grocery
thing
store.
about it. Something like this, the Aubrey Organics, is a little bit more difficult to get your hands on. Burt's Bees, Tom's of Maine, yes, you can buy them at CVS, you can buy them in the Giant,
Whole Foods, I've
Whole
seen.
Foods, just about any place that you're going to be shopping.
Alba. Now this is a facial scrub. Now why should I use this one as opposed to the Cetaphil?
Well, again, I think that there are less chemicals that are going to cause a problem if they get loose in the environment than this. And also, some of these things are actually, they're showing up in breast cancer tumor tissue. I mean, they also have products, they also have chemicals that affect our bodies. So we want to try and stay away from things that could affect our human health as well as the environment.
Now, I don't want to, use this as an example because it's just makeup that I happen to have in my bag, and I don't know what would be wrong about the names that we find in the store. What should I look for that I don't want in my makeup?
What you want to stay away from is this long, long list of ingredients of things that you really can't even pronounce, honestly.
If you can't pronounce it, don't buy it.
I think the thing to do when you go into a cosmetic store, and there are all these chains that are now in the malls, is ask them for ingredients that are plant-based. The more plant-based they are, the more organically based they are, the safer you're going to be. It's a little bit more simple than asking for name brands if you're not familiar with them.
Thanks for the advice.
You're very welcome.
To learn more of Diane's tips about where to buy safer cosmetics and personal care products, you can log onto our website at rl.tv/dailycafe. Coming up, we're going to talk to one of the original members of the band, Peter Tork. Stay with us.
back now with a look at the events that happened today in history. World War I broke out on this day in 1914. Germany and Russia declared war on each other. Germany also sent troops to the French border. France responded by mobilizing its army, and Austria-Hungary had already declared war on Serbia on July 28th. It was called back then the War to End All Wars. The Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour debuted on this day in 1971. The show had huge ratings and proved to be a big success. In 1974, the couple announced they were divorcing, and so the show was canceled. Cher went on to a successful singing and acting career. Sonny would become a politician, serving in Congress.
Here we come, walk down the street, get funny.
How many times did you sing along with that number when you were young? We are joined by one of the members of the Monkees, Peter Tork in Los Angeles. Hey, Peter, thanks for taking some time with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. How you guys doing?
You look great. You know, taking us back to those thrilling days of yesteryear, a lot of people don't remember that you guys were not a band. You were assembled as part of a TV show.
That's right. That was the starting point. I think the guys who assembled us, the guys who put the cast together, were actually hoping that we would become a band. I sometimes call them, I think they had Geppetto complexes, but that's okay because we had Pinocchio complexes. We wanted to be real life boys, so
you know,
it worked out.
The show was based on the success of the Beatles' A Hard Day's Night, and you were actually in competition with the Beatles for a while. How does that make you feel today, thinking about that?
Well, in fact, in a sense, we weren't. Lennon is reputed to, John Lennon of the Beatles, for those of you who are too young to remember. You do, and nobody younger than us is watching, are they? Anyway, John Lennon is reputed to have said, well, they're not the Beatles, are they? They're the Marx Brothers. And in a sense, that was sort of true. The point was the TV show. To start with, I mean, I count myself a musician first and foremost, and I'm in a band now, and I'm just delighted to be playing music. But at the time, making that TV show was the critical thing in the terms of the overall project.
Were you the cute one then? You're the cute one now, right?
No, I wasn't the cute one then. The older we get, the cuter I get, and the others seem to be.
We've all noticed that, haven't we? Now, but 40 years ago, when that TV show went on the air, you had 4 straight #1 albums, which was really unusual. Better, I think, than the Beatles, although I'll have to look that one up. But why did you break up?
Well, I actually wanted to go on making music as a band.
It was your fault. You broke up the band by going off on your own?
Well, no, actually the band was beginning to collapse because the TV show went off the air. Simple as that. But I had hoped to be making records. The Monkees made a really good record, and then everybody went off in their separate ways. And I was disappointed, and I wanted to be in a group, so I went off and formed some groups of my own. Nothing happened with any of them until this one. I mean, we're starting to make a little stir. The group I have now, Peter Tork and Shoe Suede Blues, mostly blues, pop, rock. It's what I want to be doing. This is where my heart is.
Blues, what a great
Peter
name.
Tork and Shoe Suede Blues, thank you. Reminiscent of that time in pop music when all pop music was the same. Rockabilly, soul, country, straight blues. It was all the same music. You were listening to it on the same radio station, one tune after another. It was a fabulous moment in music.
And in the interim between the Monkees and Shoe Suede Blues, see, I said it, you played with John Phillips, you played with Hendrix.
Yeah, well, Hendrix, I've jammed with Hendrix. I didn't ever actually get up on stage and join him. But Jimmy was a friend and would come over. I mean, Jimmy, you probably know this, Jimmy opened for the Monkees on tour for about 7 or 8 dates before the disparity became obvious to the point of desperation. Yeah. But Jimmy remained a friend. He was a fabulous guy, just as human and as sweet and real as you could hope to find a person anywhere. And he would come over and pick up the guitar, and I'd pick up a bass or another guitar, and we would play together from time to time.
Very quickly, any chance for a Monkees reunion? Dare I say it?
Very quickly, no.
Thanks so much, Peter, for being with us. Great to see you again.
PeterTork.com, and thank you for having me.
Shoe
and
Suede
good luck
Blues.
to you guys.
See you.
That's a
Felicia.
Yay.
It's likely the biggest asset you're going to own, and that's your home. So getting the best price and getting it to sell can be one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make. Joining us from Chicago is Doug Crow. Doug currently hosts the Real Estate Coach, a weekly radio talk show about real estate with a focus on the real estate investor. Doug?
Hi, how are you?
I'm pretty good. So
Good.
I want to sell my home. I live in New York City. Can you really do it in 10 days? The market's not that great.
You certainly can, but you're going to have to work a lot harder than the average person.
Okay, so what do I do?
First of all, real estate is a very tricky game. If you think about it, most small businesses, say for example a florist shop, are going to have a revenue of like $500,000 to $1 million a year. A real estate transaction is probably equivalent to that, especially in New York City. But most individuals and realtors alike look at that as a transaction as opposed to a business. So I recommend to all people who have a $500,000 or $1 million home or even a $250,000 home to treat it like a business. And what I mean by that is to have a marketing plan and do some research to make sure that they know the marketplace and they know how to compete against their obvious increased competition.
Okay, so we are taking a look at some of the steps that one takes first.
Right.
Home staging, declutter the house, get rid of all the tchotchkes and stuff, right?
Huge, right. To sell a home to make it look pretty is different than staging it. You can make a house look pretty, you can clean it up and organize it, but to stage it for showing takes a different kind of viewpoint. There's a lot of things you can do to make that happen. Probably the easiest thing is to hire a professional home stager. If you don't want to do that, though, there are some certain things you can do to make it look a lot more appealing to a potential buyer.
How expensive is a home stager? I've never even heard of such a thing.
You know, it's a great thing. It's invented by Barb Schwartz back in the 70s, really. And it's a very, very unique way to position items in your home and to stage it for the optimum sales price for a potential buyer. You move things around, you stage things in threes, you declutter, you do a detailed cleaning of the property, and you do certain things to position all the items to make it more inviting and to put not you in the home, but to put the potential buyer's family in that home before they buy it.
Why do you remove family photos?
For that exact reason. If you go through a home and you see somebody else's family and their photos in that house, it's their home. By simply removing your family photos, it has a blank slate. And you could take your sales skills and your positioning to say, imagine your family here. It's hard to imagine your family there if someone else is living in your potential home.
And why angle the furniture?
It's just it's a visual thing. If you take a look at, most people put chairs and couches against walls. So that sometimes looks like it's a little more inviting when you're sitting down, but when you walk into a room, it does make it look cluttered. If you take a look at any professional staging, by angling furniture, by putting a bed at a 45-degree angle in a room, it opens the room up tremendously. It makes it look a lot more inviting and more warm.
Interesting. And why take outside clippings and bring them indoors?
Nature is our best thing. You know, people love to go to the ocean. They love to go for walks in the park. But when they go into a stale and sterile environment, it sometimes doesn't feel as warm, as inviting as a walk in the garden. So we recommend taking clippings. A lot of people have overgrown bushes or flowers or things outside. Take those clippings and decorate them inside your home. It gives a bridge between the outdoors and the indoors.
Okay. So now we're taking a look at one that says, get an independent appraisal. Why?
Yes. A lot of people, especially now with the home prices being perhaps a little bit flatter in a lot of areas, are very skeptical about the prices people are asking for their properties. A lot of people are looking at their prices saying, hey, this is what my neighbor's house sold for a year ago. Well, a year ago is not a very accurate comparable. So getting a current appraisal by an independent person is going to help validate the price you're asking for your property.
And a home inspection?
Home inspection is critical. When I buy property, I'm going to hire a home inspector to find the defects so I can negotiate the price down when I'm buying, all right? And I always get 2 or 3 times the value of what I ever paid for the home inspection. When you're a seller, if you get the home inspection ahead of time, you're basically nipping that negotiating chip in the bud by getting the inspection done ahead of time. You know exactly what needs to be fixed, how much it's going to cost, and any major defects you can take care of before you sell the property.
And why have a personal yard sale?
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Why have a personal yard sign?
Oh, a yard sign, that's huge. If you were to go down any street in this country right now, you're going to see a house for sale. You know, every 5 or 10 houses, there's a Remax or Coldwell Bank or some sign up there. The ones that normally catch your attention, I'm sorry to say it, but are the ones that are hand painted that look like it's for sale by owner. And those are the ones that generally you look at that and go, oh, wow, that person may be in trouble, or just catches your eye more to have your own personal house for sale sign there.
And why leave a flyer at the hair salon? Do people look for houses in hair salons?
No, they don't look for them there, but boy, if you want to get a captive audience, become really good friends with your stylist or your barber, because those people talk to everybody. And by enticing other people to help promote the sale of your home, you're going to have a team of basically silent ambassadors to help you market your property. Now, I talked to my stylist and said, hey, if you sell my home, I'll give you $500. And when I say sell, I don't mean doing the selling transaction, but giving me the lead to somebody who may be looking for a property. You know, it's what they say. It's not always what you know, it's who you know. Very appropriate in real estate.
All right, Doug, I'm going to take your advice.
Okay.
Thanks for being with us. There is more Daily Cafe ahead. When we come back, we're going to show you why finger painting isn't just for your grandkids anymore. Stay with us. If you thought your finger painting days ended when the school bell rang, think again.
Our next guest is going to teach us how we all can become modern-day Monets. Well, just like this, by using our fingertips. Joining us now is Alan Montague. And Alan, show us how to create a masterpiece. Now, you have done this with your fingers.
One. The one behind you is the one like you saw on the thing. And all you do is just basically just take your fingers and just dip it in, pick it up a little bit of paint, just hit it. Just like this.
Did you ever use a brush?
Oh yeah, my brush work. If you go to alanmontague.com, you can see the really nice.
There's no brush on this.
Oh no, this is just all finger painting. This is just do it just like this. Just all it is. Just mix your colors, pop it in.
How did you first discover that fingers were a better tool than a paintbrush?
Well, I used to have a houseboat I stayed on about 3 days a week, and I forgot my brushes, and I was too lazy to drive back to the gallery to get it. And I sat out there and just started playing with it, and I took it back, put a frame on it, sold it. Then I did TV for about 7 years, where I cooked and painted and traveled all at the same time.
Really?
So that's how I got started.
It's really amazing.
Multifaceted.
I mean, how you see, I've always said everything you need to know you learned in kindergarten, right? But how did you get the raises on these sunflowers?
With your finger, just take your finger, just pick up the yellow, just like this, pick it up, and then just like that.
You have to really tolerate gooey hands, huh?
It's like squishing your toes in mud. That's all it is. You know, it's just fun. For a Southern boy, it just came natural.
Yeah, to squish my toes in
Yeah. Well, we teach children
no, I don't
all the way.
want to ruin his beautiful
Yeah, you can't hurt it. You can't mess it up. You just pick up some paint and just hit it. Pick up some white, pick up a little green,
a little white,
and just hit it with your finger.
Little
Sure.
green.
You can't hurt it.
I'm deadheading the flower here.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, but you get the curls. Oh, isn't that fun?
Just hit it a little bit.
And then you find a friend with a nose and put this right on it.
Yep.
You.
Okay, keep making a flower for us.
Okay, well, the flower's already done. This is just basically just foliage, just this type of thing, you know. In the essence of time, you just put it in, just flick it, just like that. And we have the whole kit that's coming out, one of a really neat Christmas gift, and this has a DVD in it and everything. We teach this all over the country through Jared's Artorama, and it's just a really...
And do mostly children enjoy this, or do you teach this to adults?
Honestly, we're just now getting the kids involved. The adults just love to play with it because it really makes it so user-friendly to people that they really are seeing that never have they ever had to paint before. And a professional artist likes it too because it makes them more adept with their brushes after they learn to use just their fingers.
And does it matter what kind of paint you use?
Well, we have a complete line of art products coming out that are totally non-toxic for children and adults, which we're really excited about.
Okay. But this looks like something people could do that's really relaxing. It's tactile. You can do it whenever you feel like
Alzheimer's patients, stroke victims,
this is
MS,
a thing that,
this is what we're working with.
That might connect grandparents with grandchildren because they could all enjoy it.
We do the classes where the grandparents and the kids or the parents and the kids come to the classes. They love it. They go home with really beautiful work. We make it very simple.
Isn't that fun?
That's great. Well, it's wonderful. I mean, it's obviously something that you can enjoy in relaxation. And
it is, and at the Southern Palate, which is what we're all about, Southern hospitality, is we try to tie products and services that really benefit the human spirit. That's like the tea party on the tray. That whole thing came about because we like to do everything Southern style, kind of low and slow and that kind of thing. So
okay, where in the South are you from?
How could you tell I was from the South? North Carolina.
North Carolina?
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, I have relatives in North Carolina.
Little Southern boy. But that's what we do. So we have a tea party And in fact, I just wrote the definitive guide on tea party etiquette. What does that tell you?
Well, there's a lot to throwing a tea party.
That's right. You got to have fun with it. You know, you can't live a dream unless you have a dream, and that's what we do. I love doing motivational speaking. That I like to bring all of this in and show people how colors are like facets of your life. If you have a little bit of a plan, you can either have a great life, or it can be just turned to mud if you just don't know what you're doing. That's what we do.
Perfect.
Finish
the painting. We're not
Finish
done
the painting.
yet.
Oh, okay. But
And did you adopt the hat as you became a painter, or did the hat come first?
The baldness came first.
Necessity
No,
is the mother.
I've always enjoyed a beret. And it's just a lot of fun. And all the paint products carry the face and the beret on the tubes and everything that we have. So it's just kind of a branding thing. So that when you see it in the store, you automatically know that that's kind of what it's all about and what company it's from and that end of it. So it's just, you know, like I say, we have a lot of things like this, like alanmontague.com. You go to it and you see the book, the whole thing. We've got a philosophy and recipes and just a good old Southern
You know, this is
approach.
totally mesmerizing. I'm finding myself just staring at this process.
Thank you for
Isn't that
sharing your
fun?
technique.
Sure, thank you.
Coming up tomorrow on Daily Cafe, would you put a burning candle in your ear? Okay, here we go again. We're going to show you some people that do.
Plus, Michael Musto, who hardly ever burns candles, will be here with the latest gossip. We always love that. See you then.